Hey everybody, guess what? I have another deck guide and gameplay video for you today. This time it's going to be a Nilfgaard one. I figured, we haven't had a Nilfgaard deck in a while, and, there haven't been too many Nilfgaard archetypes that have popped up recently, excluding Alchemy, of course, which is pretty popular still. But yeah, I thought, why not show you this deck, which I've been playing a fair bit of. I didn't make it, I didn't come up with it. I apologize, actually. Showed it to me a couple of days ago. So really the whole idea of the deck is focused around slave infantry, sentries, and scorch effects, which are happening from Villain, Tret and Mirth, Yennefer, and of course Scorch. So we can just go over a few of the cards real quick and yeah, check it out, and then we'll drop into some gameplay after that. So first we have Calviet. He's the leader, and he's just going to be a consistent, thinning play that gives us a few points and allows us to see a little bit into the future about what our next plays might be. This can be particularly important, when you're doing things like Joachim, Cantarella, and other plays like that. But not too relevant here. More relevant when you're running like Vilgefortz or whatever in Alchemy. But definitely a strong leader. I've heard people say you could maybe run Emir, which would be pretty interesting with the either slave infantry or recruits being the pickup with that. But in this case, I think Caveat's pretty strong. So that's the leader. Villain Tranmirth is going to be the finisher of the deck. Most of the time, you really want this to be scorching the biggest unit at the end of the game on the opponent's side of the board, and that'll make Villain Tranmirth 20 points and up consistently if he gets his effect off. Sometimes it doesn't happen. I mean, people are running a lot of removal these days. You've got Selkirk in Northern Realms, you've got Viper Witches in Alchemy, and you've got a few other tools in Scoia'tael. Maybe they have Sword Masters or something like that to remove the Bork. So there are ways that it dies, but it is pretty damn strong against Skellige, who don't have many answers, so that's worth keeping in mind. Triss Telekinesis is the second gold here. It's just a very strong play. We're going to be pulling either Recon or Ointment. We do have a copy of each for some flexibility there. Generally just giving you another body on the board, along with some slave infantry, which you can buff up with sentries later in the game. So it's a really nice way to kind of revive them. And, fill your board back up after that round 1 or 2 where you've had to play those engines out. So that's kind of the point of Triss. Also a bit of thinning if you need it. And that's kind of a thing this deck does very well, is it thins through the whole deck a lot of the time, which is pretty awesome. Next we have Rainfarn, of course, a pretty strong gold, being able to tutor for Cantarella and Joachim, should you need either points or a spy. Very powerful plays. Joachim, you're going to want to use this earlier in the game, just because it's going to have a bit of anti-synergy with Scorch, potentially. If you hit something like a Sentry, or a Sire from it, you don't really want to be scorching your own unit. So tend to play him earlier in the game, maybe round 1, round 2, just to get some points on the board, and then save the Scorches for later on a lot of the time. And then Cantarella, obviously, we're just going to be playing this whenever we need a spy on our side of the board. I mean, if you don't know when to play a spy, there is another video elsewhere on the channel, I will say. Go find that if you want. But yeah, anyway, next up we've got Yennefer. She's replaying Scorch or Last Wish. Last Wish is going to be thinning and finding a card from your deck. So basically she's 5 points plus a play, worst case, and she can be another Scorch effect, if you like, if a lot of 11s, say, for veterans are lined up, you can get some pretty big Scorches going, and multiple ones of those with the Scorch happening and then the Yennefer after. Do make sure you keep track of, which spell you've played last, so you don't play Yennefer in a suboptimal situation, let's say. But yeah, we talked about Cantarella and Joachim, and then now Last Wish and Scorch. So these are all kind of the core silvers here. We've got Roach as well, just for a bit of thinning. Most of your, all 3 of the golds here we can play in round 1. Villain, Tret and Mirth, not so much. But you should always be able to get Roach out if you have to in round 1. And the deck doesn't have too many bricks, really, with the Sire being able to fix a lot of them. So you can often, keep Roach in the deck until round 2 or round 3, and even sometimes if you're bleeding, play him round 2. It's not too big of an issue. And then we have a Sire, as I said, going to be able to fix a lot of the issues the deck might have in round 3 with, recruits still being in the deck, or reconnaissance not being able to find a unit because of the amount of thinning. So Sire provides that purpose, and it can also, of course, deal with Skellige Graveyard a bit, shuffle stuff into their deck, shuffle Spy into the opponent's deck, all the good stuff there. I even had a game today where I shuffled an opponent's Joachim into my deck and pulled it out again with Rainfarm, so that was pretty fun. But yeah, Asai, a very good card, of course, in a lot of Nilfgaard decks at the moment. Lots of ways to use her. But yeah, we'll move on to the bronze course. We have Alba Pikeman just as a way to really thin the deck out. There are also like 3 targets for the sentries if you haven't quite built up your board with the slave infantry at the beginning of a game. So yeah, pretty solid thinning, really allowing us to get to that villain Trettenmirth later in the game and that sort of thing. Then we have the sentries and the slave infantry, which go really well together. You kind of want to play all 3 copies of the slave infantry round 1 if you can. You know, tutoring for them and the sentries with this recruit card, which, you know, is random, but you can control for that a little bit by keeping multiple copies of one of these cards in your hand at the very start of the game. And yeah, you just want to slam these down before playing the sentries for just huge points on your board, basically. And you'll see in the gameplay it can be pretty crazy, I'm sure. And yeah, apart from that, we just have a slave driver, really a filler slot. I mean, I was thinking about putting another ointment in. Might even do that at some point. But slave driver can be nice. You can even take Freya and revive some soldiers of yours, like the slave infantry or the sentry. You can take a few other nice things. I would say slave driver is really bad in the alchemy matchup. So if you're facing that a lot, I would take it out and replace it for something, but not a big deal really, just a filler slot. Same with the ointment and the recon. Ointment's pretty nice because it allows you to play the slave infantry in round 3 or round 2 if you need to push, and just kind of get the engine going again after it's been used in round 1. So that's really nice. And reconnaissance, a bit of thinning. I could honestly see more ointments being in the deck. The only issue is they, of course, can't be played in round 1, so you do have to wait on those. But yeah, that's the deck. So pretty powerful. As you see, I might play this at Challenger, who knows? I mean, at this point, anything's possible, but definitely a very strong one. And Nilfgaard has been kind of lacking in archetypes other than alchemy, so I thought, why not, you know, show you guys this deck if you haven't seen it on stream. And yeah, we'll jump into some gameplay now. I do hope you enjoy. Alright guys, jumping into a little bit of gameplay, of course. Got the Kraken crate coming up. Alright, so Mulligans, we don't really want ointment ever. I think that card's bad because, you know, can't play it round 1. Not very useful. Just like Freya's or whatever in Skellige, you don't want those. You don't want ointment here. Not very useful. So, can mulligan that. Don't really need to blacklist here. You would blacklist Pikeman if you have more than 1 in hand. Roach, of course, is another card we don't want. And then, like, the mulligans are kind of weird with this deck because you would like, basically, you know, you'd like a way for your recruits to tutor out one of either slave infantry or sentry reliably. So that means having, you know, all 3 copies of sentry in the hand or all 3 copies of slave infantry ideally, but that doesn't happen very often. So mulligans are a bit weird. Usually I think you're okay with 1 sentry. If you need more, you can kind of fetch for them. A little bit risky because we have pikemen we could draw, I think, but or maybe don't. I didn't mulligan 1, so a little bit dangerous, but I think we're happy to go for it there. So generally speaking, first player is going to be these pikemen. We want to get them out of the deck as soon as possible. You might have to make adjustments a little bit, like if you know you're going to need a lot of points, you can go with slave infantry early on in a round. I mean, that's what we're going to do now, is get the slave infantry going. Good thing about these is they play below your scorches, right? So if he, for example, goes with the boat now, which looks like he's going to do, we do have a perfect, you know, aligned scorch. We take it, 18 points, denying the greatsword tick as well. Pretty good. Definitely one of the strengths of this deck is its, you know, ability to deal with Skellige in general. A lot of their decks have, you know, big units and units of the same strength, so really nice that aspect of it. But yeah, I mean, we can keep going with the slave infantry, I think. You know, we might not have any recruits in hand, but that's okay, because Asaya later on can shuffle back infantry and or sentry if we need those later on, so not a big issue. We could go with a sentry here, but I'm pretty happy. Calviet, or even maybe reconnaissance. Yeah, reconnaissance sounds good. Grab a recruit, which will pick a slave driver or sentry up. Sentry's more likely, and we just get the buffs there. Start the points rolling. Objective here is just to push him out. You know, we can take as long or as little time as we like, really. Shouldn't matter too much. We just want to thin our deck. Find the villain Trettenmirth. It's going to be really good for round 3. you know, along with the other Scorchers that we have. At this point, probably not going to play Yen. Too early to do that. We're kind of happy with this one Greatsword being buffed up, it's fine. He's got 110 already, so it's effectively wasting the Crack and Crate boost if he's buffing this one up and wants to res it, so that's not too big of an issue. Caveat now for more thinning seems good. We can grab a recruit, pick up another soldier, and you know, we're paying attention to what's on the top. We have an Ointment and a Triss, so those will be our two draws for next round. Also, we don't know what Joachim is pulling, so a bit risky. It could pull the Roach. We don't know whether or not that'll be the case at this point. We could just go with it to block the, you know, the Greatsword proc, so maybe we do that here. I mean, it is risky. It's like we could even hit a recruit, which, you know, is also fine. So it's a 1 in 3 to hit Roach. Depends how ballsy you're feeling. Maybe just more sensible is going with the Rainfall into Cantarella, I think, here. We'll pull Roach out, we can grab that Triss. Ointment, you know, whatever, we can throw it to the bottom, not a big deal. And, you know, he's not ahead, which is ideal, can't pass. So really nice. Gonna go with his own spy by the looks of things, which, you know, not too bad for him, but we're denying this Greatsword procs, hopefully, and, you know, we've got big sentry play should we need to do that. Probably am going to go with it here. At the same time, we would like to get Joachim out because, as I said in the little prelude to the gameplay here, you know, it can block our Scorch, which might not be ideal. In this case, I think we're fine to just go Sentry, though. If we want to play Joachim, you know, we can play it maybe round 2, or just the next play here is also fine. Yeah, we can do it now, just guarantee that we win this round, pretty much. Should be good. And then we have, you know, a few plays. We've thinned the deck hugely. I mean, 4 cards left at this stage of the game is kind of ridiculous, right? And we're miles ahead on points. These Greatswords are getting kind of big, but, you know, 14s is alright. Plus we have a Sire to shuffle them back, and then Scorch effects later on to shut them down. So, not too big of a worry. Definitely, him not having carryover is nice as well. Allowed to dry pass if we want to do that. Depending on what he does here, we're probably going to pass. I mean, there's not a huge amount of plays we want to make left. Triss, you're probably going to use round 3 for Anointment, just to pick up a Slave Driver or Slave Infantry that you have in the graveyard. In this case, yeah, we don't really... We're happy to get out of that round, go to the next one. Definitely can make a case for playing a Sire this round, just to shuffle his guys back. However, I think I'll probably go with that next round to, you know, deny the Jenge and Greatsword if we can do that. It's basically the same thing as playing it this round, but, you know, better because we get the card advantage guaranteed. And we'll Mulligan away Slave Driver, grab that Villain Treadmirth and pass. Yeah. We'll need to be wary of what's in the deck and what we are pulling. Last Wish we probably want to not play until we've played our Yen for Scorch, because Scorch is going to be more valuable than Last Wish most likely here. Also, he does have a Recon, which could mean, you know, he can pull out those Greatswords once we shuffle them back in, but it's still going to be worth it, I think, to deny Jenge at least. So we can do that. I don't actually know what the last card is. This is sometimes a calculation you kind of have to do is work it out. Oh yeah, it's Ointment, of course. We did shuffle that back in, and we could even get rid of the Last Wish here. I think we're going to do that. This just gives us a bit more flexibility with the Yen, right? Because we know we don't really want a Last Wish with her. We're going to want Scorch against these big Greatsword guys, so I think we're fine to get rid of that. And honestly, probably the hardest bit about this deck is the Asaya and working out what you're going to put back in for either the opponent or for yourself to make sure you don't brick. And as well as that, just, you know, avoiding scorching yourself. That's probably the hardest thing with this deck. And in that respect, it's pretty deep, I think, in terms of the gameplay loop with this deck. Gameplay, that sounds awfully complex, but anyway, yeah, so starting off, we said we wanted to play a Sire first. We've got to think, is there anything I really want to put in my deck? Probably not. I mean, I would like Roach, but at the same time, denying these 2 targets here should be more valuable in the long run. Definitely not going to be too shabby. If he has Sigdrifa, that Jenge being shut down is perfect. And the Greatsword as well. You might be able to thin it out with Recon, but we'll see about that. And now, you know, multiple things we can do. Since we probably, like, Slave Driver here can hit Freya onto Soldier, which is really nice. So we might want to revive a Sentry with that. If we go for Triss and Ointment on Slave Infantry, that'll probably be the way to fetch the most points, and then rely on, you know, Slave Driver into reviving a Sentry. So that's the line we'll go with here. We've already played the Asai route, so we can't do like a recon play or anything with Triss. Just gotta play it by the book, as it were. Having card advantage is really nice. It means Bork is gonna hit, biggest dude, and he won't have a chance to revive it or whatever. Yeah, maybe not. I mean, yeah, that's probably what's gonna happen here, and we just gotta be careful of playing anything too big, but we should be completely fine. This boat is gonna be big enough to tank the second Scorch of the Yen, so our Asaya should be safe. Having to play Restore for a boat is also quite a sad thing for the opponent. Obviously, we need to play Bork as the third, third from last card every time, otherwise its effect will not trigger. Yeah, a really simple way to work out how to play this is just, if you have 2 cards left in hand as well as this, you have to play it. Obviously you can play it before that if you want to, but you're going to miss out on some value potentially if the opponent saves a bigger unit for their last card, right? So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, we have to drop it here. Going to play around the Igni and whatnot. We could put it even front row. Probably play around it better since these are... never mind. Maybe middle row, whatever. Doesn't really matter too much. As long as this Bork goes off, along with the Scorch. I mean, the opponent's just dropping dead cards all over the place. So, we're winning even more than we should be at this point, effectively. But, yeah, I mean, you have a sentry at this point in the game. It's just huge points. Really not too shabby, and that's what the ointments, they're giving you. Definitely a chance to kind of resurrect these slave infantry and reuse the sentry buff, which is very powerful. And yeah, we'll go with a cheeky Triss here. Not quite getting the lineup there, I don't believe, but is the opponent going to be bowing out of the game? We win by quite a considerable margin. And yeah, this deck definitely punishes Skellige pretty hard. Not a good matchup for them. I would say Hensel, though, bit of a problem. So there's a bit of give and take to the deck. I think it's maybe more of a tournament deck than a ladder deck. But at the same time, it's definitely powerful. And I've been playing it a lot and having a lot of fun with it, actually. There's a lot to think about with it. Can't really autopilot as you normally would another deck. But yeah, there it is. And hope you enjoyed. I hope you continue to enjoy if you play the deck. But yeah, good luck on the ladder. Good luck out there with whatever you're doing, whether you're playing Gwent or not. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time.